Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by Dr. Sherif Amin, the international relations expert in Paris. Dr. Sherif, a very good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us. Now we are seeing, of course, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi attending the conference in Paris on financing Africa's post-pandemic recovery. Let's talk a bit about the importance of the summit. We've seen yesterday the French President Emmanuel Macron saying that IMF member countries are agreeing to clear Sudan's areas to the institution, removing one of the hurdles of Sudan in getting its wider relief on its external debt of at least 50 billion US dollars. How important is this move for Sudan as well as for the African continent as a whole, Doctor?
Well, let's see, for instance, in the past, the policy or the foreign policy or the regional policy of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Africa. We have managed, for instance, for Libya to show the world that they could have a representative, and
yes,
it was done. We did the same thing in South Sudan. We mediated between the rivals there, and they had a peace treaty. And
yes,
then it comes now to Sudan, North Sudan, and this is a new case, and Egypt is following the same guidelines about its foreign policy that we have done in Libya and in South Sudan, is that we have to find stability and prosperity for the people of Sudan. I think that President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi defended the case of Sudan in front of the international community. He was very clear that any stability should be done with accordance with the will of the people who choose their new leaders, and also in the economic development. So I think that President Macron trusts the vision of President Sisi, and when they spoke together about what should be done to make Sudan a stable country, I think that the decision was made by France, according to Egypt's advice, to start to release this $5 billion of debt, and then give the aid, the political, the economic aid to Sudan to be a stable country.
Absolutely. Now, Doctor, we've seen the Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok addressing the conference, saying that Sudan is indeed a rich country that doesn't really need handouts, but investments instead. In your opinion, what are the main goals for Sudan at this coming period, and what do they have to offer up for investors from all over the world?
Well, we all know that Sudan has agriculture areas, huge agriculture areas, fertile areas. It could be invested in agricultural products. We in Egypt, we started this and we developed this. We are the pioneer in investing in countries where there is, let's not say fear, but there is some hesitation by other countries to go ahead. As we have did in Libya, we started the investment in the infrastructure. We're doing the same thing now in Gaza and in the infrastructure. So we're doing the same thing in Sudan, and I think this encouraged the international community. When the Prime Minister of Sudan gave his assessment, they saw that a huge country like Egypt already invested there, so why not they follow the steps? I think that Sudan has these capabilities of offering some goods, I mean by fruits and vegetables that could be agriculture through agricultural projects with the cooperation with the EU. It could help in exportation, and also this will always be very, very helpful for our economy also, because it would be passing by the Suez Canal.
Absolutely. Dr. Sherif, let's move to the African continent now as a whole. Today, summit is trying to fill a financing shortfall of around 300 billion US dollars caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, as this is, of course, some of its repercussions on African states' economies. What are the priorities now, in your opinion, Doctor? Where should these funds be if indeed these financial gaps can be filled?
Well, we all know that now Africa is struggling to go ahead with projects because, as you said, the COVID-19 has paralyzed the international economy. But fortunately, when Egypt was the head of the African Union, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, and this is before the COVID-19, starting speaking to the leaders of Africa that you have to be aware that one day you have to strengthen your economy. And it was under Egypt's leadership in the African Union there was the first economic zone created. So I think it was a vision by President el-Sisi. He saw what could be happening in the world, and now it's come true. I think that all these funds should be given to the small projects, the startups. I think that the young people in Africa need to see their countries prosper because the gates of Europe is closing. There is everywhere panic and instability. So as President Sisi said to the youth or the African youth, you have to build your own countries. No one will give you the funds for granted like that. You have to use it to work and make your countries prosper.
Indeed. Now, Dr. Sherif, bridging this gap is important really to deal with a number of other international troubling problems like terrorism, extremism, illegal migration, poverty, etc. Those are all interlinked global concerns. Do you think that international institutions and the advanced world are sincere in dealing with these problems from a global perspective, focusing on the African continent?
Well, let's not be too optimistic about that because we all know that there is a huge competition inside the African continent between the superpowers, whether the West or China or Russia. And fortunately, there is independent countries, strong countries like Egypt who make the balance. So I think that we are defending the future of the African countries. Egypt is bringing the case of each country in any problems ahead. We are defending the problems of Libya, of Sudan, even in Ethiopia. President Sisi said it numerous times that we are ready to help the people there for development and economy. So I think we are defending every country in Africa. It will take time because still there is, as I said, competition between the superpowers. Fighting terrorism, it has to be a strong will. It's not only Egypt that will do it by itself. We have to be standing together.
Absolutely. And on the sidelines of the summit, President Sisi, as well as his French counterpart Macron, as well as Jordan's King Abdullah II, held talks over the developments in Palestine, and they discussed efforts for a rapid ceasefire to prevent the furthering or extension of this conflict. And the presidential spokesperson, Ambassador Bassem Radi, said during the meeting the president promised $500 million for the reconstruction of Gaza following Israeli airstrikes. Let's talk about the message behind this, Doctor, in your opinion, and how Egypt is constantly, fighting for the Palestinian cause, not just verbatim, but even on a practical level.
Well, let me go back also in the past. When the tragedy happened in Lebanon, Egypt was the first country to be there to help the people of Lebanon in August, last August. And the same thing now is happening in Gaza. Egypt is present. It's our regional role. I think that President Sisi gave a strong message to the international community that the negotiations, the peace negotiations, has to start immediately, and there has to be a Palestinian state. So it has to be taken seriously because the escalation it's not a good thing for all the region, and I don't see something optimistic in these coming hours. So I think that the Palestinian Authority now has the golden opportunity to work with Egypt, to work to find a solution to protect Gaza and to negotiate with the Israelis and find a solution.
Absolutely. Dr. Sherif, the international relations expert in Paris, thank you so much, sir, for your time and your insight. Another short break, and we'll be right back to continue our coverage. Stay tuned. Egypt